Welcome back to our restoration project. Today we're going to take on the back seating. So getting started here, what we're doing is we're just basically mocking up our original seating and seeing how everything fits and operates before we start stripping things down and recovering, just in case we have any clearance issues we need to be mindful of, and just basically get a good feel for how everything's going to operate. Let's go ahead and pull this one down. We can see this has got this carpet tail, and what's going to happen, that's going to tuck underneath this upholstery work right here, and you can see our pre-existing holes where we have some washers in there, and what's going to happen, that's going to stretch over screw locations here and here, and that'll help pull tight this bottom edge in here. And then looking at our hardware and washers layout, so these are original washers in there, and also the original plastic bushing in there. It's like a actually it's like a beauty ring, just a trim in there to cover over that stud coming out of there. And our shoulder screw, that's running all the way, so we will have some side space on that when that's fully tightened down. And here's our center arrangement. So you can see it had originally some thick rubber washers, some wave washers, and then also they're using the wave washers in this location also. And this was how it was set up as I took it apart. There is no screws or bolts on this side of the hinge. It just sits on a pin and then threads in here, and that's how they operate. And then taking a look at our lower seat cushions here, so I've got two different setups here we can do. This particular car did not come with the rear seating wraparounds, and some of your early cars will come with these wraparounds and some of them won't. It's really going to depend on when they were transitioning out of these and what year you have. So most of the early cars had these wraparounds, and later 912s, 911s just kind of did away with some of these, and then eventually they just went away altogether. So not really sure why they got rid of them. Some of it might be you see a lot of these have some space in here, and there's not really any good way to work that out. So it's not really a good tight fitted piece in there that you can do, although you can get it fairly clean. These ones were made up by Autos International, and even though I'm not going to go with them on this car, I will show you how to install them just in case you're working with a set. But we're going to go with this setup here and make entirely new seat cushions with the new upholstery kits. And peeking through our quarter window space here, you can see we've got a little sun rot going on the tops there. But the overall condition of these backrests, real nice condition. The cores inside look to be real solid, so I don't think we're going to run into too much problem once we strip them down. And also, I'm doing this now while I have my quarter windows out, so I think it's just going to be easier to be able to reach through there and also locate this strap here, get everything dialed in before we set those windows. Okay, let's break it down and get it started. Okay, so we got everything stripped down, and last night I went ahead and did some yellow gluing to some of this rough framework here. You'll have probably some loose ends and some connections. However, incredibly well built, these wooden frames, and it looks like the type of wood they were using here is what we would call a beech wood. It's known as a hardwood, but after 50 years it's really hard. I would say they use this because it is a hardwood, which means it's really dense, and it holds a staple and a nail really well. However, now that it's slightly petrified, if we try to nail back into it now, we could end up actually breaking our frames apart, so we don't want to hand nail anything here. We're just going to use a staple gun and glue to get through this so we don't damage our frames now. But they're really in nice condition considering their age. And then looking at our padding, boy, this has really held up well and still has a real nice amount of cushion to it. I would say almost as good as the day it was put in there. And it looks like they have some kind of a varnish seal on this Coyer. Not really sure how to pronounce that, but it's the same material used on our dashboard and has held up a lot better condition than our dashboard. Looking at the backside here, you can see the amount of flex still in there. It's really a nice condition. So we're not going to do anything to that to coat it or solidify it. We're going to go with that just as it is, and just go right over the top with some new foam. And then also I've made up a couple of new backs. Our original backs here, a little bit warped, and new back replacement, nice and flat, and that should be plenty stable. We can glue our carpet to it. And then also sandblasted our hinges, so we can POR 15 coat those and then reinstall those. Here's our original hardware set coming out of there. And so I'm replacing all the hardware with new zinc coated screws and all new fasteners there, so that should clean up real nice. So first thing we're going to do to get started on our frameworks here, we're going to coat them with a couple coats of polyacrylic. And you can use pretty much anything for this. You could use a polyurethane or pretty much anything to coat and seal our woodworking. And the reason we want to do that is it's going to really help preserve the wood over the next 50 years. Not going to have any more moisture problems coming into the wood. It'll stabilize it, stop it from warping, and give us a real nice seal on there that we can adhere to. So 2 coats of that. We're going to put 1 coat on, sand it, another coat on, and sand it, and then we'll be good from there. We can use some glue on top of it. And sometimes I like to use a sponge just to do small applications. It spreads it on real nice. Don't have to worry about any throwaway brush hairs coming off. And then also I like to hang all my POR 15 work. That way when I'm done with it, I can handle it when I'm doing the top portions. Okay, so we got everything ready to go here. Everything has been coated and sanded up. We got our POR 15 all finished and looking good there. So it looks like I'm actually getting ready to bake these in an oven, but what I'm really doing here is just making templates for this new padded up area here I want to do. And these are the new pieces of replacement foam we're going to be using over the top. And this particular foam here has a reinforced backing. You can see that there. It's got a reinforced backing on there. And what we're going to do is we're going to stretch that over the top, and that should give us a real nice padding with some strength in there, and hopefully fill out those ends and keep to our original shape as much as possible. So what I want to do here, I want to completely go through one of these, stretch it out, pull it, attach it, and work out all the bugs and details in it. Once I have something I can be happy with, we'll take a look at it, and then we'll go through the other one step by step. All right, so I think we got something here that's going to work. About 7 hours to get this thing completely put together and everything all worked out on it. Real happy with the results here. Nothing really too terribly difficult about it. Mainly just working in the heat is going to be your friend. And then also using duct tape as an assistant to help pull and stretch and get this thing worked out. So it took quite a while to put this together. Let's see if we can put it together doing a 5-minute version. So first we're going to re-secure our hinges, and this is the sizes I'll be using on our hardware set. And probably one of the most important notes here I can give you is double checking and triple checking that the orientation of our hinges is correct, as we have left and right hinge sets for these seat backs, and they get screwed from the inside of this back here. So once we secure it, that's going to be it. If we go ahead and wrap everything and we're not right, it's all got to come apart again. Our 5/8 on the top 2 here. And then contact cementing our lock washer to our nut to our screwdriver. Next we're going to mask off our hinges for spray grade contact. Then we're going to close up the back and replace our inspection ticket by George Nair. Next we're going to make some patches using some high strength 90. Okay, after a couple good coats of our spray 90, we're going to stretch our gray foam. Just kind of a medium pull on that. Trying to cut as flush as we can with the outside. Okay, so once we have our foam applied and we like everything, then we move on to our upholstery. And these pieces here, these come probably unlabeled, and there are lefts and rights and 4 different configurations for which you can put these on here. So you really need to spend some time sorting them out, which one is which. The best thing you can do really is match it up with the ones that come off the car. It's going to be real close to the cut pattern and length, and that should help you there. So if we turn the piece inside out, what I like to do is trim off any excess tail here. So usually from the stitch outward, there's at least 1/4 inch of meat hanging off there. I like to trim that back to within 1/8 of an inch of that stitch. And what that'll do is when you do an inverted stitch like that, you get a real nice stitch line like that on the outside. If you have too much tail hanging off on the inside, you'll end up seeing some telegraphing in there, and you might end up getting some irregular choppiness as you go around the corner. On this one here, we'll need a little bit of a cut that'll split on our hinge here, and then I'm going to take some material off of here. We'll do the other side and then we'll trim it. And then once we have our ends where we like it, everything's stapled down and finished off, we can install our centerpiece. So this has like a stiffener, and what I like to do here is just trim out kind of a radius edge on the inside corners here with some scissors, and that just helps soften that edge when we bend it this way. Otherwise you might get some telegraphing on that point, but it basically just folds over and stretches. So we have the long portion on the top, short portion on the bottom, and that's pretty much it. And starting with the top first, I'm going to be stapling just the seams first. need to mock up the seat back, the leather strap inside the car. Once we like its location, we'll tape it, bring it back out here, staple it, and screw it in location. So put our strap in place there, and then also we can see our cardboard bridge, how that works. See that as it's sliding in there. And then when it's fully open, our stretch on our carpet is what holds that down and creates like a bridge support where things come over the top there. And that's about where we want it, right there. Okay, wax paper. Alright, we got ourselves a working deck. Alright, well, we got us some seat backs, and I am really happy with the way those turned out. Really, really happy. Beautiful kits by Autos International. Okay, so before we move on to part 2 on our lower seat cushions, let's take a look at this seal here. It's just one last piece we need to put into place, and then this whole back area, back deck, and back seating will be 100% complete. So the seal we're looking at here is just basically a sponge type rubber rope seal. So we're going to cut between the two defroster tubes. Right now we're just a little bit long, so we'll just trim it to fit between those. And where that goes is we just need to press down the back. You can see in there, there's just some area that needs to be taken up. But basically that just squeezes in there. Let me go ahead and trim that and see if I can press that in with my fingers. If not, we'll have to press it in using a plastic tool. And then there's the finished look after we press it in. So right side here just being a little bit stubborn. Won't quite spring back on our board here, but I'm pretty sure the second we heat up back here, that's going to spring right back and close that gap. And there's our part number on that. Real nice seal from Stoddard. Okay guys, so that's pretty much going to take care of our seat backs and rear deck. I'll see you back on part 2 where we take on our wraparounds and lower seat cushions.